There's a war being fought tonight. We call it Operation Intercept, and it involves thousands of military people from Hampton Roads. Cynthia Lima joins us now with more on this. Cynthia, law enforcement has a new weapon now in its war on drugs.
That's right, Jim. It's our men and women in uniform. The same people that we counted on to win the Cold War and to liberate Kuwait are defending us again. This time, the enemy is drugs.
Mister, you're about to get shot. Let me see your hand.
Leave your hands behind your back. Right there.
Let me see your hand.
This is the Huntersville section of Norfolk, where drug trafficking is as much a part of daily life as sending the children off to school. For local police, neighborhoods like this have become the front line in the war on drugs. But this isn't the only place that war is being waged.
JTF4, this is Cover Catcher. I'll copy my last transmission.
Feedback, Princeton is reporting a air contact. They believe it to be slug 01.
Altitude right now, 30,200 measured.
You're right. We're still holding contact with that suspected slug.
This is the new frontier in the war on drugs. A military jet, once used to track Soviet aircraft, is now tracking a suspected drug plane.
It's a different type of a threat. He is not attacking, he's evading. And he has thousands of ways of moving drugs into the northern hemisphere.
To disrupt that drug flow, the government has enlisted the military. Its advanced warfighting capabilities on land, at sea, and in the air are proving to be a big help in the drug war.
Every year we have doubled, nationally, we have doubled the take on the supply side. Not just cocaine, but arrests, aircraft seizures, vessel seizures.
Here in Key West, hundreds of aircraft and ships are monitored each day at the headquarters for the military's Joint Task Force on Counter-Narcotics. The operation stretches from the Caribbean to the Eastern Pacific. And nearly 60% of the manpower and machinery comes from Norfolk.
So any contacts that we have, we turn it over to ground or surface forces, and they decide whether or not they want to prosecute.
Lieutenant Katie belongs to the Fighting Escargots, an E-2 reserve squadron from NAS Norfolk. They're here in Key West flying drug missions as part of their training. Hundreds of miles away, the USS Virginia, a Norfolk-based guided missile cruiser, leaves the Roosevelt Roads Naval Base in Puerto Rico for the Caribbean. 2 years ago, the Virginia was firing Tomahawk cruise missiles during the Gulf War. For the next 3 months, her mission will be drug interdiction.
It's a very, very different thing for a warship to get involved in this sort of a business.
Different, yes, but also effective.
He knows that we're out here, and he knows he has to outfox us.
For the drug cartels, that means it's costing more to do business in the U.S.
From what I've seen, it certainly is much more difficult for a guy involved in trafficking drugs to do his business because we're here. He can no longer just fly very blasely across the Caribbean or take his ship or commercial vessel and just transit to a port in the United States.
As the Virginia transits into the Caribbean, her crew includes a Portsmouth-based Coast Guard detachment. It's the Coast Guard's job to board any suspect ships and make any arrests. In his time, Commodore Edwards has seen it all, from the most sophisticated drug-running attempts to the most basic.
A sailboat that had a sailboard on it, and a sailboard weighs normally 12 to 15 pounds, and the coastie was doing the boarding and thumped the board and tried to lift it, and it weighed closer to 200 pounds. And it turned out the whole thing was just hard-pressed cocaine.
Not every boarding turns up drugs, nor is every ship that's monitored boarded. So in order to maintain readiness, this Coast Guard crew holds practice drills almost daily. Little did they know at the time that this drill would become the real thing tomorrow. And we'll show you the real thing as it happened tomorrow at 6.
What happened to the drug plane we saw?
Well, all 3 that were on board that plane were arrested.
Joins us now with more. Cynthia?
Jim, the military hasn't been involved in the drug war all that long, yet its contribution is already making a difference. A new day dawns in the Caribbean. And for the crew of the USS Virginia, this day will mark their entrance into the drug war.
02, Victory Merchant, bearing 238.
Understand contact off 45.
It's on a course 275, 15 knots.
107, over. 334, 11 knots. Very well.
525 yards.
Understand, winds at the rail.
A cargo tanker en route to the U.S. from Curacao has attracted Virginia's attention.
Here, like a stakeout, you're sort of sitting and watching and waiting for him to make the first move, and then you make adjustments after he goes first.
There are some discrepancies in what the tanker's skipper has told the Virginia about his ship and what the Coast Guard is hearing from its sources.
If they've changed flags, it hasn't been updated in Lloyd's. We also understand that this guy had the ship lengthened someplace here in the recent past by about 10 meters or so. So that sort of raises the level of suspicion a little bit.
That could be a false compartment used to smuggle drugs. The decision is made to board the tanker.
Should go around the stern, Chief? Yeah, I'd go start now, go down this side and then up the other side.
As the boarding team approaches, the Virginia stands by, communicating with both the Coast Guard crew in the water and the tanker's captain.
Cliff, you copy that?
No.
They got a couple guys hanging out back. The British wanted to know if you copy that. There's a couple guys hanging back on the stern.
Tell them I want everybody aboard.
The tanker's captain has been told to bring his crew topside, but some are still down below.
Roger, he said that the crew were having breakfast and it looks like they have not come up yet. Do you want to go on board?
How do you guys feel? We did. Yeah, let's do it.
Where'd you go? Go ahead.
Roger, we'll go ahead and come alongside, go on in ourselves and bring them out.
Roger.
Boarding the tanker presents its own challenges. The ladder is corroded, making the climb topside risky at best.
Okay, I can hand that up to you.
Once on board, it will take hours to search the vessel. The Coast Guard team begins by questioning the crew.
We do get indications, maybe sometimes through nervousness in the crew, or we'll just see the powder, or we'll see a bale of marijuana. More often than not, we don't find anything. It's a completely legitimate cargo.
As the tanker search continues, it's business as usual aboard Virginia. Yet for some crew members, the idea of catching a drug runner makes this deployment worth it.
We're trying to make a difference. This is, we're doing our part to make the streets of Norfolk, the streets of Chicago, the streets of Philadelphia a better place.
Hours later, the call comes in. The boarding team is ready to come back.
Got it, let's go.
The Coast Guard searched every crevice and compartment. The tanker crew finally cooperated, and the captain answered all their questions. There were no drugs on board. This guy was clean.
Yes. Yeah, basically, yes.
Weeks later, however, another boarding in the Caribbean by the crew of the Portsmouth-based cutter Laguerre turned up more than 140 pounds of cocaine. Sometimes it's just hit or miss.
There's no predictability, there's no cycle through which these people operate, and we have to be out here looking and be ready all the time.
When they steady out.
For the crew of the USS Virginia, meeting that challenge is what their training is all about. This war may be different, but the desire to win is the same. As determined as these people are to win the drug war, no one is saying victory is near. It's going to take years and a lot more than just what the military is doing to win this one.